started. Thanks so much for coming. I'm Polly Sumner. I'm the Chief Adoption Officer at Salesforce, and also a founding member, very proud one and honored, of our, as an advisory board member with UpLink. So over the past 4 years, I had the great pleasure with working with my friend John and our whole team that's focused at the WEF, working with UpLink to attract innovators around the world. So John, you want to say a few things?
Of course. Good morning, everybody. So glad that you made it here and made it here early. It's great to see you here. And you know, today's an exciting day. Polly, I hear that this is the first time that we've ever brought the famous Salesforce Dreampitch competition outside of San Francisco.
Yes, that's true, and it's a pretty long plane journey, as a matter of fact. So I know that many of you have come to Davos from other places, so this is really an amazing opportunity for us to get an international perspective about how great these innovators are and what their innovations can do for the planet.
So, I mean, listen, throughout the week, we've heard from global leaders about new innovations and how they can play a role in taking on some of the world's oldest challenges. We have a chance to learn from new technologies and businesses to see how that they're meeting those challenges head on. But listen, let me tell you a little bit first about UpLink. So UpLink is the open innovation platform of the World Economic Forum. We have a vision of driving an entrepreneur revolution for people and planet, and our mission is really how can we build bridges across ecosystems to see them thrive. We've got 3 long-term impact outcomes to make sure that we can do that. First, we're looking to accelerate the impact of early-stage entrepreneurs. We want to see their businesses grow, and we want to scale their impact. Secondly, we're enabling ecosystems. We want to make sure that they are surrounded by the businesses, the companies, the customers, the investors, and the partners that they need. And lastly, we want to shift perceptions. And that's what this is all about. How can we shift the perceptions about how early-stage companies have the technologies to change the world? Now, how do we do that, right? We have a couple of things that we do. One of the things is we got to find those companies. So we run competitions. Those we call innovation challenges, and we partner with leading businesses, governments, experts to design those challenges through a series of workshops, identifying the issues and making sure that we have the criteria to source those entrepreneurs. So far, we've been able to source over 440 top innovators across more than 50 innovation challenges since 2020. Now, this has been a lot of fun because we've been able to support them, not just through those entrepreneurs and the community we're building, but there's an entire digital platform with almost 70,000 people that are supporting and championing their work. Across all these activities, those entrepreneurs, since 2021, have been able to gain funding of $2.3 billion. Now, this is money that they have done. This is not UpLink that is helping to source that. That talks about the credibility, the investability of early stage companies. There's never enough. We know that only 5% of impact investing is going to early stage, so we need to support more. But that gives you a sense of just how far we've come. One last piece. We know that this is just more than building competitions. It's about ecosystems. We also know that Dreampitch isn't just about a performance like this. It's about building a movement. And this morning, we get to see what UpLink is all about. As much as we can talk about this up here on stage, we think that it's a lot easier if you guys can hear it yourself. So can we roll the film that we've got?
My name is Rodrigo Rivera. I'm CEO and co-founder of Green Mining.
I'm Kat Bruce. I'm the founder of Nature Metrics.
Divine Navawese, and I'm the founder and CEO of Divine Bamboo.
These entrepreneurs are all UpLink Top Innovators. But what does that mean? A top innovator is a pioneering early-stage entrepreneur with a startup that is making our world more sustainable and equitable.
We deliver renewable energy and affordable services to address the many challenges faced by rural farming communities.
EcoCycle trains mushrooms to eat trash and create renewable bio-based raw materials.
We are helping to deploy
water recycling systems into cities, into large buildings.
It grows seaweeds on the oceans at a very large scale and convert them into products for fertilizer supplements, bioplastic replacements, and biofuel.
Top Innovators are scalable ventures that have been chosen as winners of UpLink's Innovation Challenges, a competition format that calls for high-impact solutions to the world's most pressing issues, like ocean plastic, deforestation, water insecurity, and biodiversity loss, to name just a few. As winners of these challenges, top innovators are invited to join the UpLink innovation ecosystem, where they benefit from visibility on World Economic Forum and UpLink digital media channels, and receive invites to select high-level World Economic Forum, UpLink, and partner events around the world. Top innovators also receive help to find vital sources of funding, including connections with UpLink's rapidly expanding community of top investors, investment fund managers who ensure that much-needed capital flows to impact-driven startups around the world. Through UpLink, these top innovators are showcasing the impact they have had on the world.
We have saved 50 billion liters of water since the beginning. We are working with more than 2,000 farmers in Latin America.
We have convinced up to 60,000 individuals, close to 1,500 companies, to plant over 1.5 million trees.
And the impact that UpLink has had on them.
For me, it's like sticking a V8 engine in a Mini. Having UpLink available, the team at UpLink, and the team of innovators within the UpLink network is hugely important.
Some companies, they're much more confident to work with us, knowing that we are part of all this ecosystem that UpLink created.
There is no single solution to the world's problems. There are many.
The future does have a name, and its name is hope.
Are you in the business of hope? Is your startup accelerating progress towards the SDGs and safeguarding the future of our planet? Visit UpLink and submit your solution today.
Okay, that was great. Aren't those people inspiring? Well, you know, we have UpLink, a technology platform where we talk to innovators and share ideas together around the world. We've added financial investors so they have the financial resources. But one of the other things that we know that's really important to startups to get their solution right and to find how they can participate with the ecosystem is actually feedback. So today, you're all going to participate in a form of feedback with this Dreampitch. And we have some judges who are experts in the industry and impact, and we'll bring them up. But we really need you to maybe take out a pen or whatever way you want to do it, and you're going to be part of the voting. So right now, this is their chance to compete for a prize, a $50,000 prize for number one. So thank you to all our investors and our sponsors who made that possible. And I want you to think about it this way. We've heard a lot this week about how AI and data are either a promise for the future when we apply them to one of the challenges that we have in the world, or they could go the other way. So I hope this is a great way, no matter whether you're leaving this afternoon or leaving tomorrow, for you to see through their eyes 3 ways that AI and data can power their solutions and deliver the platforms for that are facing our people and planet and help us with what we need to change. But for those, we already did the UpLink thing, sorry about that. So John, maybe you can invite up our contestants and maybe we do a little bit of talk back and forth and introduce them.
It'd be great. Now, just before we get to the competition, we want to do a quick fireside chat with 2 special people that are here with us today. The top innovators that are going to be pitching have been with us for some time, but we've got Philip Engelkemp, who is the founder of Ineratech, who is just starting his journey. So let me invite up Philip up on stage.
Let's give him a round of applause.
Now, the aviation industry contributes roughly 2% of global greenhouse gas emissions. It's been cited by the First Movers Coalition as one of the sectors that's the most difficult to offset in terms of its carbon footprint. And this year, UpLink and FMC, the First Movers Coalition, partnered with Salesforce, Deloitte, and other industry leaders on a challenge to identify and support innovative early-stage ventures taking the issue head-on. This week, we announced a full list of 16 high-impact ventures that are decarbonizing aviation. And today we're joined by one of those founders. So it's great to have you on with us, Philip. We wanted to start out with just a little bit of a conversation here. Let's be honest, not everybody in the room knows what ESAF is. So I was hoping you could just tell us a little bit of what is ESAF, and maybe in that context, what exactly are you guys doing within Neratech?
So first of all, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here, and I think my task for now is that next year you all know what ESAF is. So no, just kidding. My company is called Neratech. Neratech is a company from southern Germany, and our goal is the next era of mobility, which basically means that we will want to go away from the fossil oils and fossil products to a more sustainable way of making transport and mobility possible. And this basically means that we focus on the so-called hard-to-abate sectors, so sectors that can hardly be electrified or where hydrogen transportation or mobility might not work. And one of the most famous sectors of that is aviation. If you just imagine how you might have come here with a plane over the Atlantic Ocean or a long distance from anywhere in Asia, for example, it's not going to be possible to have that electrified. And my company is solving this part of the problem by recycling carbon dioxide, mixing it in a chemical reaction with hydrogen, and making hydrocarbons out of it. It's very technical, and you might remember it from school. Hydrocarbons are now known as gasoline, diesel, jet fuel. And this is what we do, and basically we can provide a carbon neutral way of mobility, especially in aviation space.
All right. So that's what it is. Everybody got that? You ready to tell your kids, your mom, what is ESAF? It's not easy, but tell us a little bit more about your company. How have you guys grown? What do you think is the potential, and why are you so excited about this industry?
Sure. So we were founded in 2016 by 4 founders. 3 of them have a PhD. I'm the Wolowitz. I don't. So basically, we spun off from university. So there was a technology which was ready, which we could acquire. We did that with the help of a governmental program. And then it grew very fast to today around 150 employees. And we've just announced a $129 million round, which we've accomplished shortly before Christmas.
This was just on Tuesday that they announced it. This is amazing. Congratulations, Philip.
Thanks. So it's an amazing journey, I would say, and the journey cannot come to an end yet. Our goal is really to go into this era of sustainable mobility, and this means that we have to replace crude oil. And that also means it's a huge challenge for us, for the world, but it's also a great business. So I'm really looking forward to, say goodbye to the fossils.
So listen, we talked earlier about what is UpLink, and as we said, it's about building ecosystems. And we're really excited to have one of the ecosystem partners for the challenge that we ran on sustainable aviation fuel with us here today. So I want to invite Praful Sharma to join us as well for a little bit of banter back and forth with Philip and Praful. Praful is the Senior Vice President of Strategy for the industrial automation business for Schneider Electric. So thank you for coming up on stage with us, Praful, and for being such a supporter for this. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about why is this important for Schneider, and why have you made the commitments you have through this challenge?
Well, first of all, thanks, John, for having me. And it's pretty excited to see what Philip is doing. In Schneider Electric, we have 2 businesses, electrification and digitization. And these are the pillars for sustainable industries. And we want to be in the forefront, be exemplary in the space. We are doing many things, whether it is towards hydrogen, EVs, having new ways of producing foods. And SAF is something which is coming new. And we strongly believe that it would require a modular approach in order to scale it faster. And that's where Schneider Electric comes with our solutions. And we help innovators in order to embed their solutions, provide them the reach towards the end market. It's being a 37 billion euro company. We have a lot of those places where fossil fuels are used, and they're looking forward for the solution, which is well integrated on automation, digital solutions, and energy management. So that's what excites us to be here.
All right, so we know that technology is important, but why is it hard? What are the challenges?
The biggest challenge, what we feel especially, so in order to decarbonize aviation, SAF would be required. And then ESAF adds more challenges on top of it because more and more carbon would be emitted. Then hydrogen plants, which is still into the process of having close to where fossil fuels, the carbon is being emitted, are still in the process to be there. And there would be different industrial footprint for all those facilities. So in order to scale faster, in order to be competitive, you require scalability and you require better competitiveness towards better modular designs. And here it is important to provide those modular designs to provide the scalability towards the end-to-end solutions.
All right. So those are some of the challenges on your side. Philip, you guys have grown, but you still got a long way to go, and we need, we've got a big job if we're going to replace the crude. What are the challenges that you see? And maybe just also a word on partnerships. How are partnerships with companies like Schneider or others important for your growth?
I guess the scale up of a company is great to see, but it's also at the same time the greatest challenge you have. Scale up means that you grow exponentially, basically, and it has to do with every single department of your company. So it's not only about money, it's also about people. It's about customers, it's about building relationships with customers, but also partners, suppliers, and also investors. And I guess that is one of the major challenges, that you have to be able to build up an organization and people that are able to manage this kind of exponential growth. And that is for every startup, not just in the aviation space, but for every startup, this is the greatest challenge. And in addition to that, one might add that we are not in the bits and bytes business, but we're actually in the bringing metal to the ground business. And metal works and also hardware always means that you have to invest a lot of money. So the CapEx requirements are pretty high to bring this to the ground. And this might be the special challenge for a deep tech company.
I think this is really exciting because we know how hard it is to get investors to come forward for those hardware innovations. And to see the growth that you guys have been on this week has been fantastic. Listen, so we're coming close to the end of this segment, and we just wanted to do a little bit of a reflection. So there's been conversations all week. Energy transition is one of the things that has been so important on the agenda. What are some of the reflections that you guys have? Maybe just from each of you, one thing that gives you hope or optimism, both about your businesses, but also about that bigger energy transition. Anyone want to go first?
Sure, I can start. A lot of discussions on climate and AI. Technology is going to be in the forefront. And let's be conscious. We talk about several scaling mechanisms, modularity I was talking about, Philip was talking about being competitive in the space. We need to ensure that we are not designing the new systems with the 2 decades old systems. We need to look forward for the future design, which is going to survive. And that's where technology, even AI, there's a lot of discussions, news articles, it's going to take away jobs. But more and more, it's going to bring in more efficiencies and productivity. So let's be open for it. And it's a strong role which public and private partnership going to play. There's a lot of grants which is being given by the state governments and also at the international level, and Schneider Electric facilitates for innovators in bidding for those grants to innovate better.
Yeah, for me, I've met Al Gore at the United Nations Climate Conference in 2018, and he said, it's possible to do good and do well at the same time. And I was like, wow, he's smart. And I kind of, that really shaped me. And now, as you can see, sustainability is not just happening in a sustainability tent. It's happening everywhere in Davos, and it's not just a side topic, it's a main topic. So this gives me really hope that we realize that there is a great opportunity in sustainability and that we can actually earn good money with it. And this is the case. It's happening.
I think that's one of the big messages that we want to pass on. It's possible to do good while doing well. So listen, this has been part of our collaboration with the First Movers Coalition, the Sustainable Aviation Fuel Challenge. But we've also had a broader and I think also exciting part of the First Movers Coalition, where our founding partners, Salesforce and Deloitte, have collaborated with them to build out a first suppliers hub. And I think this is really exciting because it's a marketplace. It's where buyers have access to a comprehensive repository of green commodities and producers. So this is going to be launching soon, so you can keep an eye out for this announcement. But we're really excited to see how UpLink is collaborating on some of these really hard to abate sectors. And I'd like you guys to invite Praful and Philip to have a fantastic, impactful 24. Give them a big round of applause. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. And with that, I want to turn back over to Paulie. She's going to get us going with Dreampitch. This is what we're all here for. So come on back up on stage, Paulie, and get us going.
Sure thing, John. And on behalf of the forum and UpLink, I want to recognize and say thank you to others who are in the room before we get going. If you're a top innovator, could you stand up and be recognized? I want everybody to be able to see who you are. So, call to action. Grab their cards at the end. We're going to hear from them. And I think it would be a great opportunity for you to find out how you and your firms can contribute. I also wanted to specifically thank Deloitte. They've been a terrific partner with Salesforce in driving forward not just the innovation, but doing these kinds of introductions. As a matter of fact, Schneider Electric is a 13-year partner with Salesforce, delivering great solutions with very low carbon to customers in industrial sectors, in governments, in the tech sector, et cetera, around the world. So thanks again, Praful. You've been a super example of how these can work. And for Deloitte, together with their 300,000+ people, we actually localize how we are able to reach innovators and actually do business together while doing good all around the world. So thank you very much, and I really would hope we'd give those two, just as examples, a round of applause. And now, and thank you, John, for representing the forum so well and all your hard work and daily on-the-ground thing. That's just, it's amazing. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of logistics now. So first thing is, I wanted to start with having our Dreampitch judges come up. First up is Zara. Could you come up and introduce yourself? We go way back. All right, Zara, would you mind?
Yes.
Just grab a mic and pick your chair.
Morning, everyone. I'm Zara Baralaloumi. I'm based out of London, and I lead our Salesforce business in the UK and Ireland. And thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. And Kwasi?
Good morning, everyone. Kwasi Mitchell with Deloitte. I am our Chief Purpose and DEI Officer for our U.S. firm. So looking forward to this, spending some time with the innovators.
Okay, and representing the financial community, Enrique?
You are a tough crowd this morning.
Yeah. Are you guys awake or what?
Thank you for that.
Well said, Zara.
It feels more easy. So good morning, everyone. I'm Enrique, co-founder of Chi Impact Capital. We've been selected as one of the most innovative funds of the world. Thanks to the UpLink, we are here sometimes in other meetings in New York and other places. I'm based in, the office is based in Zurich. I'm based in Lutry, close to Lausanne, here in Switzerland.
Okay, so shall I put them on the spot this morning and they can wake everybody up? I think it would be a good idea. So Zara, what is the one thing that you look for when you hire people into the UK operation that's kind of your indicator of success?
Holly, I can't believe you're asking me that.
Hey, we got to get to know you a little bit.
Well, so look, if anybody is getting through to the stage where I'm actually talking to them in the London office, then we take their craft and their skill for granted. So really, what I then look for beyond that is the person, and does this person operate with integrity? Do they have the hunger to succeed and do well with a can-do attitude? And I look for the super collaborators and the culture makers.
Great. So we guess we know what lens she's going to vote with. Okay, now, how about you, Kwasi? I'm asking you the same question from your view in DEI and how you think about what you want to invest in.
For me, it's really about job creation. So as much as possible, looking at scalable solutions and also organizations that are creating family sustainable jobs for moving forward.
And Enrique, same question for you with your financial investment lens on.
Yeah, we want to try a different angle. Of course, we look after the development of the business and the returns, but we are also looking after the impact they are creating. An impact for us is right now reduction of CO2, many other things, but that's one of the key elements that we're always looking for.
Okay, so this is where you add your lens to these three sort of lenses that are up here that are judging on the panel, and that's why I asked each one of you what your judging lens was.
Can I add one more lens?
Yeah, sunglasses or what?
No, I think from a, I just want to. If I think about the theme that we see certainly here at Davos, and who can't trip over, you can't move for tripping over AI, right? Mm-hmm. And if I think about Salesforce, sustainability is a core value of ours. And so, ultimately the lens of today for me is really how can AI accelerate the path to a better planet? Clearly that's going to be front and center.
Great. Okay, so now we're going to explain the logistics. Our contestants can earn up to 10 points for the category of creativity and innovation. They can get 10 points for scalability and business potential. See how these are starting to link together? And 10 points for their sustainability impact. And they will be scoring and judging, and then we'll take those scores and judges output, and we'll be able to have a little bit of a chat with the audience about what you thought. Because the last 5 points, which could easily be the tiebreaker, are decided by you in the audience. A QR code will come up. You guys will each vote, and your 5 points will be allocated, which is why it takes a little moment here. We unfortunately don't have an AI scoring LLM, but we're gonna get that done. Okay, so that's how we're gonna go. So, are you ready? How about a drum roll for our first contestant? All right. Well, let's welcome Rebecca Braswell. She's going to introduce herself. Hi, Rebecca. How are you? Good luck.
Thank
you. Okay, so she's going to give us her dream pitch, and you better pay attention because this is going to go fast and you're going to learn a lot. All right, Rebecca, over to you.
I'm excited that singing was involved. It's helping everyone loosen up. Good morning. My name is Rebecca Braswell, and I am the CEO of Landlife. Our primary technology is a tree. It's a product of millions of years of evolution, and we have planted 10 million of these specimens across Australia, North America, and Spain, planting the right tree in the right place at the right time. Because our mission is to help restore the world's 2 billion hectares of degraded land. And that's the challenge, because this is our starting point. This is land lost to fire, agriculture, urbanization. There is no manual for us to figure out how to restore this nature. So everything we do at Landlife in our tech, we build software and hardware solutions, is designed to increase the scale, quality, and efficiency of nature restoration. So where do we start? First, we have to figure out where to plant, right? We have built a remote sensing dashboard that combines thousands of data points across many scientific disciplines, many maps, to help us understand where it is feasible, ecologically and economically, to plant trees. So we look at rainfall, we look at soil type, we look at, has there been deforestation in this landscape, and what was the cause of it? We can process thousands of hectares from behind our desks. And what that means is when we do get in a car, because you have to be out there in the field, we're already at the next step. We're speaking to landowners about how to restore their land, what is important to them, what is the objective. So once we've figured out where to plant, we need to figure out what to plant. And here we've developed AI clustering algorithms that help group together different plant and site conditions. Now, site conditions is everything to tree seedling survival, right? If you are planting on a north-facing slope versus a south-facing slope, your intervention is going to be different. And we have to be specific, we have to be precise, because we don't have a lot of time and we have a very narrow planting window. So these algorithms tell us in this area do this, in this area do that, They're starting to feed us information so that we can do our jobs faster and more efficiently. And then after we've done all of that, after we've figured out where to plant, what to plant, we actually get out there and get the job done. So we are working on right now developing an autonomous planting vehicle that will take that optimal nature blueprint that we've developed, and it will go out in the field and plant it for us. It will allow us to plant in a biodiverse way, mixing species. It will allow us to plant in clusters, which is better for nature restoration. And most importantly, it will allow us to spend time on the ground, really trying to understand what is happening. And I think this is what makes Landlife unique. We're not just developing AI and tools that we hope someone will use. We're using them. They're developed out of our experience on the ground. It also gives us time for the more important things, like engaging with people, because technology is just the tip of the iceberg for restoring nature. You have to meet communities where they are. You need to spend time with them. You need to engage with them and find out what's important to them. And it has to be tailored to each geography and community that you're working in. So here we've developed a STEM internship program on a post-wildfire burn in Colorado, getting students out there collecting data for us, free labor. It's fantastic. And it encourages a whole new generation of people to take an interest in reforestation and in nature, and to feel that they can get highly skilled jobs out of that. Here we are at a first tree planting ceremony. We work with a First Nation group in British Columbia. They move at a different time and pace. They have a beautiful culture that we get the time to respect and enjoy because we've developed the tools that solve the first part of the problem. And then last but certainly not least, here we are planting with some students in Portugal. Let's be honest, that's just about fun and getting dirty together. But it is about thinking about what is next, right? So what's next for Landlife is we're gonna move from millions of trees to billions of trees. And what's gonna propel that forward commercially is that we help companies reach their science-based target and net zero goals. This is a $2 billion market that we're already active in and is in desperate need of high integrity and high quality solutions. We're gonna be the company that brings nature at scale to this market. And you know, it's funny, I think about all of the companies here and all the amazing things that everyone is doing, but we believe deeply that we are developing the world's most valuable product. Half the world's GDP depends on nature. And unfortunately, it is dwindling in supply. We are generating that supply and we're bringing it to the market. So there are many things I would like to tell you about Landlife, but I thought I would end with a story that summarizes it for me. Often when I go into work, my daughter will say to me, "Go plant some trees so we can breathe, Mommy." And I think, do I tell her I'm in an office all day? Reviewing product roadmaps and financials. You know, I want her to know we're in tech, we're in operations. And then I think, or do I take immense relief that this 9-year-old understands the importance of nature to her health and well-being? So I've decided that the answer is both. I will say to her, yes, at Landlife, we build tools so we can plant trees so we can all breathe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. And judges, I'm going to turn it over to you for some Q&A, and maybe you can unlock some of the things to share with the audience.
Well done, Rebecca. That was a very moving and passionate pitch. We expected no less, so thank you for that. I think what I find fascinating is just the vastness and variety of data that you have to gather and utilize to make your decisions. And these are really important decisions, as you just highlighted. So how do you think about the governance required to protect that data? Because I think things like land and water access in the wrong hands could be a potential threat. So how do you think about the governance of that? And by extension, when you have the decisions that get surfaced by AI or your algorithms rather, what, do you have a human in the loop to validate that?
We do. I think what makes our data valuable is that we've also invested a lot in science. And that means academics are on our team. We have a head of science. We have resilience engineers who are forest-trained engineers. They're always double-checking and looking at what we should be planting. And then we have our operations team down on the ground, right? And they get the input from the landowners, custodians of that land who've been there for a long time. So it has to be the intersection of the two. We can't just blindly use the data. It just helps us skip a couple of steps. And then in terms of the protection of the data, landowners are notoriously private. They are protective. It is difficult to cross landowner lines. And one of the ways that we've tackled that is trying to share the data back with the landowner, because they often don't have pictures of their own landscapes in the way that we view their landscapes. And we share the progress of the nature restoration work with them. So I think it's a lot about reversing that transparency back to the people that you're taking the data from and giving it to them. That kind of creates a group feeling of connection and protectivity and productive use of that data, I would say.
And thank you for the presentation, Rebecca. And I love the story with respect to your daughter, right? And I also love how you have had this situation where you have planting with autonomous vehicles and then also a workforce that is supplementing that. So to me, it's a phenomenal example of how technology aids, so many aspects of human labor. And so my question really is around kind of this STEM internship. Yep. Works well within the U.S., right, where you have interns who are happy to raise their hands for, yep. Just the experience. How do you think about scaling that in other communities around the world to get the labor and the workforce and provide them with an access to a family-sustaining job?
That's a great question, because we work in a real variety of communities. Where we work in Spain, the average age in the town that we work in is 57. And we have some 59-year-olds as field supervisors out in the field for us, anyone looking for a second career. And so we have to tailor it. That's number one. And then we have to find ways to make it scalable, especially when it's a rural community. So, for example, the First Nation group that I shared there, unfortunately, due to historical injustices, their diaspora doesn't live on their land, right? So one of the reasons that they wanted to work with Landlife is because we had the tech and the tools to make what was happening on the landscape transparent to their broader diaspora. So we have a whole separate planting dashboard where both our customers but also our landowners can see the progress of what's happening. So I've held webinars discussing planting decisions with hundreds of people who are not living on that land anymore. And that's where technology allows you to reach people that otherwise would be really, really difficult to reach. And then I think, while I'm passionate about nature, I'm also really passionate about being an employer and creating jobs. We hire these resilience engineers straight out of grad school. We steal business developers from software services, and retrain them to sell nature products. And they find that very motivating. So I really think it's a great opportunity to build careers. And what I love about our job and our work is that the next step in the career path is often up to the person who holds that role, because these are new roles, new career paths, and they get to design it themselves.
Rebecca, we are all impressed with your presentation, the business, and the way you are passionate about it. Can you drive us through the team that is backing up you on this? Because this challenge is huge, and you're not taking it alone, I'm sure. And we would like to know a bit more about that, like how your team is working with you on this.
Sure. So we have a fantastic company of individuals who are passionate and dedicated, but also extremely talented. So we divide our company into 4 different areas. Growth, which helps us understand the market, understand the changes, bringing the right products to that market. We have our delivery teams who are on the ground in all of the geographies that I mentioned. It's really important to have that local presence. We have our innovation team, which is where we have the intersection between science and technology. We have both teams under the same roof, which, as you can imagine, results in some long meetings. And then we have our empowerment team, right? I mean, the backbone of this stuff still needs to be built. The financial structures, the HR structures, all of that is new, and they don't have a playbook to draw from. So we have some incredibly talented people there as well.
All right, let's hear it for Rebecca. Okay, so remember, we want your vote, so please just take a moment, take a deep breath, think about what you heard, and put down your vote right now. All right? Now, Go ahead. I'd like you to welcome Asim to the stage. And Asim, let me fix your jacket right here. There you go. Okay, it's a habit. You know, you get the mic stuck on the back of your jacket. Don't worry. All right, so could you tell us a bit about fluid analytics? And I really have to say that I'm super proud of this one. It's right there in my home state of California. So I hope you get the gist that we're hearing from judges who will come from and travel the world, and also innovation that's coming from all over. Asim, over to you. Good luck.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. My name is Asim Bhalerao. I'm the founder of Fluid Analytics. And we started the company with the vision of solving urban water pollution. So, you know, wastewater originates at a home, in industry, commercial complexes, makes its way through a network of pipelines to a treatment plant. Unfortunately, the reality today is that a majority of it ends up leaving the network of pipelines before it gets to treatment, causing significant environmental impact, contaminating lakes, rivers, coastlines, and eventually making its way into drinking water, causing public health challenges. So to give you some context, on average globally today, about 80% of the wastewater that's generated does not get to treatment. And this is a problem that's not limited to cities in developing countries. So India discharges roughly about 50 billion liters every single day. The United States, which is 1/4 the population, still discharges about 20% of what Indian cities do. So this is truly a global challenge. Eventually, this wastewater makes its way into drinking water. Again, hundreds of millions of cases of waterborne illnesses globally. And again, this is something that's not limited to cities in emerging markets. This is a global issue. The United States has millions of cases of waterborne illnesses, and unfortunately, children and poor are disproportionately impacted. So how do you solve this? Really, you want to look at wastewater infrastructure. You want to be able to monitor it so that it is rehabilitated on time before wastewater gets out. And you need to do this in a way that's safe, scalable, and ensures scientific rigor. So we do that using a combination of robotics and artificial intelligence. So robots deployed inside pipelines travel through thousands of kilometers of networks, gathering all kinds of data. These robots can crawl, float, swim, depending on the size of the pipe, depending on what's inside the pipe. And really, you know, when we monitor these pipelines, we help cities take decisions 10 times faster. So they can go in, rehabilitate this infrastructure much faster. But really, to ensure sustainability of this solution, we have two very important feedback loops that ensure that this can be done in a sustainable way. The first feedback loop involves environmental surveillance. So when we go in and monitor the infrastructure, we also have sensors and robots deployed inside nearby lakes, rivers, or even coastlines that are constantly telling us what is the change in the quality of the water as the pipelines are being monitored and rehabilitated. And the second most important feedback loop is public health data. So we not only monitor infrastructure, but these robots are going in, collecting samples, filtering these samples, which we test using wastewater epidemiology, where we track diseases like hepatitis, diseases caused by rotavirus, norovirus, and so on. So, you know, this helps us go back and identify sources of contamination. And really, at the core of all of this is AI, you know, machine learning models, mathematical models that we've built to help cities and public health officials predict and prevent, one, infrastructure failures, and the second, disease outbreaks. So we provide a holistic approach to really help solve urban water pollution. We're excited that we work with some of the leading water utilities in the world. We've been able to provide a lot of impact. We've monitored over 1.5 billion liters of urban water pollution going in daily into waterways. Out of which 800 million liters a day is now being diverted for treatment after our intervention. And we continue to monitor about 17.5 million people for waterborne illnesses. And all of this we're able to do across 8 different countries thanks to AI and robotics that really help us scale up super fast. So thank you so much.
Asim, thank you for that. I think what you've developed, using robotics and robots is clearly it's a technology that's been used, by the energy industry in pipelines for years and years, but a novel application to really give back and create a positive aspects from the standpoint of public health. And so my question really centers around so much of what you're doing centers on creating relationships and also gaining approval from like local, not only utilities, but administrators. That's a tough business to scale. And so I'm interested in how are you deciding what cities are you focusing on and how to really approach that in a thoughtful fashion?
Yeah, thanks. So yes, there are challenges because a lot of this is, public infrastructure that we monitor. So we do work with governments, but it took us a few years to really understand the entire ecosystem. And what we've been able to do today is to look at different geographies from the lens of regulation. So, for example, in India, where we do a lot of our work is around public health. That's just what the need is in that market. But it's not as regulated. So infrastructure in India, urban populations are doubling. Infrastructure in cities is quadrupling over the next 10 years. So the focus is clearly on new infrastructure, not really looking at and maintaining old. So public health is something that's well regulated as compared to infrastructure. So we've been able to achieve scalability in public health, but working not with local governments, but working with the federal government. So that's where we've been able to, build that business model. But if you sort of go westward, look at Singapore and the work we've done in Europe and the US, where there is a lot of regulation on infrastructure monitoring. So the US EPA requires almost every city in the United States to monitor about 20 to 25% of the infrastructure every year. And if they don't do it, they get sued by the federal government. So they have incentives to be more productive, to be able to take decisions faster so that they can comply with the US EPA. So we've sort of designed these business models that fit the market and can achieve scale.
Thank you so much, Asim. I feel a sense of urgency to get you to the UK very quickly and talk to a number of CEOs. I think the discharge you talk about and the leakage before treatment is very topical for us in the UK. So I must link you with some water CEOs. The business of water is really hard. Okay, so and you know this. And I think about your AI capabilities, and you've clearly utilised the technology to analyse. Collect data and analyze the water quality from really hard to reach places. If anybody's worked in an industrial environment, this is not easy and it's very, very risky. So how did you collect enough data to train your models to the level of accuracy that you need?
Yeah, great question. It started with us collecting data with the hardware that we build. So our journey started in India about 6 years ago. So where there was no data to begin with, there were thousands of kilometers of pipeline networks underground that needed to be managed and maintained. So we had to build the hardware, deploy the hardware, spend 5-6 years collecting data. So these robots are going in, they're collecting video data, they're collecting sonar, laser data. We had to build the data sets initially ourselves to be able to then train models to be able to automate certain tasks. So the initial part of the journey was quite challenging. And then during COVID, we sort of expanded outside of India, looked at Singapore, and we realized that in developed markets, there was a lot of data being collected. So to give you an example, in Singapore, the US or Europe, there's a camera that's inserted into the pipe. It travels through the length of the pipe. And there's a person who's looking at video. And he looks at video. He's like, OK, that's a crack. He'll take a screenshot. He'll do some data entry. And these guys watch like 30 million hours of video, these operators, every year. And when we got into Singapore, we realized, oh, there's a gold mine of data in developed markets that nobody is accessing. So we had to get into partnerships. Obviously, the data is confidential. We want to ensure, the data remains local, does not leave that specific country. So we started, our process of the model building just accelerated as soon as we got into developed markets. And that's when we got to super high accuracies on our models.
May I just nip in one more question? Sorry. A commercial one. Tell us about your customers and how are you incentivizing them to adopt and take up your technology?
So there are 3 clear areas of ROI when it comes to developed markets and infrastructure. The first is it typically today costs $2 a foot to monitor pipelines. That's all costs put together. Now, and there are 3 billion feet that are inspected. So, that's $6 billion market. And this is just video, person watching video, and that's the $2 a foot cost. When we come in and we deploy our analytics, it goes straight down to $1 a foot, which includes, about 20-30% of that is ours. So immediate cost reduction, and then productivity is 2 to 3 times. So now cities that are failing to comply with the US EPA end up discharging. They are, they're able to do 2 to 3 times. So typically a team does 1,000 feet a day. We're coming in and doing 2 to 3,000 feet. So we're helping cities comply. And the third most important is, once pipes are monitored, you need to repair and rehabilitate. And today that process takes about 4 weeks because the guy on the field does it, he goes back to his office, the second guy watches it, goes to the city engineer verifies, and then a decision is taken on how do you repair. And all that while you have wastewater either going down into soil or spilling out and going into your storm drains into a water source. So we bring that process down to 2 days because we've now standardized that process. So compliance, decision making is just a no-brainer for the cities to deploy.
Thank you, Enrique.
Thank you. We receive your information beforehand. We try to do our homework, and we understand that you have family members working with you.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit how the dynamic is and what is the kind of leadership position that you're taking? And from there, can you explain us also what are your growth plans for the next 3 to 5 years?
Oh, absolutely. So my co-founder is also my wife. Both of us met in grad school in the robotics lab at the University of Southern California.
Beautiful relationship.
But the most important thing was, what's even better is I was hardware and she's software. So when we started the company, it was more like, let's try to solve a problem. How do you do it? You build a robot. We need software. So, she built the software team. I built the hardware team. Both of us engineers trying to build a startup. And over 4 to 5 years, a lot of learnings, a lot of conflict, a lot of keeping each other honest. We got to a point where now, somebody had to look at the business and really look at how this grows, how this scales. And one person had to focus on tech, and clearly she was a lot better when it comes to AI and just building scalable products because that's what she did in the Valley. So we decided, she's going to be CTO, I'm going to become CEO, and I'm going to focus on growing the business. So we decided just a few months ago that we, to scale, we now need to be able to raise money. And what we really see is the adoption of AI, because initially we were just a hardware business focused on emerging markets. And in the last about 12 months, we've gone on to become more of an analytics company that's really looking to scale up globally, because it doesn't matter where that pipe is, whether it's a clay pipe in the US, Europe, India, Southeast Asia, it has the same failure modes. So we're able to build this scalably, and our target is in the next 5 years is to get to 100 million ARR. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That was really awesome. Really, really terrific. Okay, once again, please take a deep breath. Now you've got 2 things to compare. write your own notes, and welcome our final competitor, Carrol Plummer, from right here in Switzerland. So our tour of the world is quickly coming to a close.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here and to share the stage with some really fantastic and inspirational entrepreneurs, so thank you for the opportunity. I'm here today to talk to you about wearables for plants. So that'll be an unusual idea for most of you, and it's kind of, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've exited 2 businesses successfully, but this is a deep tech business, so I hope I can inspire you with some of the technology. I want you to take away today 2 key things. What are wearables for plants, and why do we need them now? So what are wearables? I think all of you know what wearables are. You've got watches, glasses, Fitbits. Wearables for plants are doing the exact same thing. They're monitoring the health of plants, and they should be providing useful information that is enabling us, we think, to really transform agriculture. So food and ag is a big topic here. It was a big topic at COP28, and it's a big topic here at Davos. And I'm super excited to try to build on that momentum because there's huge opportunities here to make a difference in terms of carbon sequestration. You know, agriculture is a huge cause of greenhouse gas emissions, and there's lots we can do. These are pictures of some of our sensors deployed in the field. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about how we measure plant health. This is a picture of a coffee plant. I'm sure we're all grateful for that plant in particular at the time of this session. Yeah, I think so. So we want to think of, I'm an engineer, hadn't worked in ag before this business. And we got into this business because we're really interested in how biological systems process information. So I know a lot about signal processing and information networks. And what's interesting is farmers who we've relied on to feed us for thousands of years don't have really good ways of measuring crop health. The way we assess crop health right now is visually. So if the plant looks healthy, we think it's healthy. If the plant doesn't look healthy, we know there's a problem and we look for the causes of that. Now, plants are just like people. If we can diagnose health problems earlier, the outcomes are much better. So we have worked really hard to try to find new ways of assessing plant health. And with our technology now we've spent some years building up, we can assess plant health problems days and sometimes weeks before there's any visual symptoms. So this gives us a really big opportunity to help improve crop yields. Because what we know is there is a direct correlation between the amount of time a plant spends in a stress state and the yield. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the yield gap. I always mention the yield gap when I get a chance to talk to people, especially if they're not from ag. The yield gap is the difference between what a farmer actually achieves and what he or she could achieve if they had provided really good conditions for that plant to grow. And it's typically about 50%. A farmer gets less than 50% of what the plant could achieve. So if we can move that number a lot, we have a great opportunity to improve the efficacy of agriculture and to reduce the impact. So we love the coffee plant. Let's talk. I want to share one fun fact with you about this coffee plant. The information signals that we record and process come from cell-to-cell signaling within the plant. When I look at that plant, I didn't see a stem and leaves. I actually see an information network. And the information that's flowing is electrical signals that are transmitted cell to cell. If I look at this one leaf of the coffee plant and think about the channels on a cell membrane and think of them as transistors, one leaf actually has the computing power of about 65 laptops. So for me, this is huge inspiration. We can learn so much from the way biological systems process information, and we can use that to transform agriculture, as we're trying to do in this business, but also healthcare, biofilm management. There's many other things we can do when we learn from nature. So that's what I'm really passionate about. But I want to be practical. We're here as a business. How does this work in practice? Well, we're also a hardware company. We've developed the hardware. We ship the hardware to people. They install it. It's easy to install. It takes about 15 minutes to install on 8 plants. And we measure a selection of plants in any field or greenhouse. Then we use AI. So here's another example of AI that's doing good for the world, to actually decode these plant signals. So an interesting thing about plants is we can measure healthy plants and then intentionally make them sick or stress them. And then we get, we can find the differences between the signals from the sick plants and the healthy plants. Of course, you couldn't do that with humans, which is why we've started in agriculture. So we develop algorithms to say the plant has drought stress or is getting too much water, it has a specific nutrient problem or a fungal infection, and then we give that actionable information to people who can make a difference. Because this technology is so new, we started working with plant scientists and data scientists to really have scientific rigor in what we were doing. We moved on to plant breeders who are trying to breed more resilient crops. It takes about 10 years to get a new plant variety to market. So this is a big long-term business. And we also work with a lot of agrochem companies trying to develop more environmentally preferable solutions. But for us to scale our impact, we have got to work with farmers. We're at an early stage in that right now. We work with about 60 early adopter farmers right now, and we're working with them to really make sure the product we're developing is scalable, intuitive, really actionable. So that's where we are in our journey right now. I want to share just one quick, to try to make this real. We took a product, it was actually featured in the UpLink video of crop treatment based on seaweed, and it was applied to fields of potatoes here in Switzerland. And we helped them understand when the product was active and what impact it was having on the crop, so they could learn when to apply their product to the potatoes. And actually the yield in this field went up 35%. That's a huge number in agriculture. So a 35% increase in yield goes a long way towards feeding a growing population. We replicated the trial in 3 countries this summer, and they saw the same increase in yield. So that gives me a lot of hope that we can actually make agriculture more sustainable. So I just want to finish and tell you a little bit about how much of that yield gap we would have to close to feed the growing population. So if we can improve actual farmers' yields by about 10%, we would feed another 1.5 billion people. So it is possible to provide food security. We do have the land and the resources available to feed everybody. So we should welcome each new person because they can contribute to our earth. But it's gonna, we have to act now because climate change, extreme weather events, the encroachment of population on natural land, is actually pushing farmers' yields down. So we need to act now to start moving that dial in the other direction, and that's why I'm excited to be here and also excited about the conversations that I've heard at Davos. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You mentioned in the beginning your experience doing other businesses. Can you guide us a little bit about, what is that experience, what all the businesses you build, and the way you learn from those challenges, those failures perhaps, and how you're planning to grow this business now?
Sure, I can. I think what I love most about being an entrepreneur is just how fast I learn and how many diverse subjects I learn about. So our first business was an information portal before the internet, which tells you a little bit about how old I am. And eventually it provided information about pulp and paper prices and power station component prices, and it made that information transparent. And that helped people understand what was going on in those markets. Eventually we sold it to a US publishing house. It's still running today, so I'm really proud of that. The second business we had, also based on information networks, was digitizing rail transport. So the fact that you can use your phone or laptop on a train, the passenger information screens is part of our product. More importantly in that business was remote condition monitoring of trains. So then we can take trains that are having problems with brakes or doors or something out of the network for maintenance without causing problems on the network, which delay us all trying to come to places like this. And we sold that to Alstom in 2017. And then we started working on this business. I think I'm always a bit daunted, but always excited about what we have to learn when we start a new business. Here I'm working in ag for the first time, and like water, it's a tough market and it's a really complex business. So that's the challenge we're facing right now, and also the part of my work that's really interesting and exciting.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you, Carol. You yourself are an inspiration, and this is, I never imagined there were that many signals in a leaf of a coffee plant. My morning coffee will never quite be the same. And please don't tell me that I can't drink coffee going forward as well, so that would depress me. You mentioned AI, and even in your previous businesses, the point of being able to tap into and capture a vast array of data or a network of data. But how will the role of AI and its capabilities help you grow and scale this venture?
I think AI is really at the heart of our product. So these small electrical signals that we're decoding were actually discovered by a really famous Indian scientist called J.C. Bose more than 100 years ago. But we couldn't really do anything with them. So people have known about them for years and years, and they're interesting. But until we had cheap and powerful computers and AI has made such a difference. Machine learning is what is enabling us to decode these signals. So for us, the machine learning is an integral part of the product. And I think we're relying also a little bit on machine learning as we think about how to scale the sales of our products. So we're really use some tools that the people at Salesforce will be very familiar with, like A/B testing and stuff like that. So we're using AI as an integral part of the product, and then to help us try to get the product in the hands of the people for whom it'll make a difference.
And thank you, Carol. I thought, not only the application of so many of these techniques. Obviously, large-scale farmers, they monitor, soil conditions, different aspects of the conditions in which their plants and their crops are growing, and this takes it another additional step. What's interesting to me is I clearly see the value prop on a large-scale farm, right? And I also see the value prop for a small independent farmer, but they lack frequently the access, the knowledge, and the capability to apply this type of technology. How are you thinking about that particular marketplace? Because that's where you really get the advantage of increased yield when those yields are going to feeding a family.
I think you've identified the issue really correctly. We're based in Switzerland, so it's a high-cost place to build a business, and we're going to market starting with higher value crops like coffee, like vines. Potatoes is a pretty high value crop also. And one of the interesting things that's happened and shaped what's going to happen with our business has happened here at Davos. We thought that right now our technology was just too expensive to think about for smallholder farmers. But I've had conversations here that have showed us if we can link our technology with some other benefits that farmers can potentially get, like being paid for carbon credits or being paid to improve the quality of soil, that it actually makes it possible to deploy our tech for the smallholders. So kudos to UpLink for bringing us here, and to the big community that's discussed food and ag here at Davos.
Let's give it up for Carol.
I imagine you can now see why we're so excited about all the entrepreneurs that we support. Wasn't that amazing? Can you guys give one more round of applause for Asim, for Carol, and for Rebecca? And actually, why don't we get you guys to come back up on stage? The judges are going to be looking at their scoring. You guys come up and join us. And at the same time, can we get the QR code? Oh, here it is. This is time for the audience to participate as well. Carol, come on up. Asim, Rebecca. This is where we try to, buy a little bit of time. We got to make sure that the audience can vote. Can you guys see? Oh,
No.
We could get her to sing, but actually, wasn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, you've got the food we eat, the water we drink, the air we breathe. What could you ask for more?
I know, and what was also really interesting to me is the similarity between the way you rethought a problem. Data, technology, artificial intelligence, and the reality of every business needs a business model so that it has a perpetual, sustainable funding source. To me, that was remarkable, and I can't thank you enough. It's actually I just learned in 3 very short lessons 3 of the most important things that I've learned here at Davos.
And you know, one of the things that's been fun, I find at Dreampitch every year that we're there, is the ability for us to hear about what it's like. You just had judges grilling you. What was the toughest question that you got? Anybody want to take that?
How convenient.
We'll just go in the order.
Whoever has
of
the mic is the one that passes it on. I
yeah,
like it.
exactly. Right or left? You pick, Rebecca.
No, I think the question about scaling community engagement and workforce, I think that, you know, once you get your tools in place, you can kind of pick your head up above water, and then you realize the next step is not the data and automation, right? That ended up being the really easy part once you've fully developed your business proposition. It's about how you reach people and connect to people and bring people on board with your business. And so it's a good question and a hard challenge, but an exciting place to be that's where we are.
Awesome. Before we hear from you guys, just a quick check. Can everybody see the QR code? I know we're kind of staying, it's okay? All right, great. What about you, Asim? What was the toughest one?
The toughest question I had today was at 6 in the morning when my son asked me, how rare is this Pokemon card on video? I'm like, I have no idea. So I think, you know, in this space where we've seen initially, you know, lack of venture capital, an industry that, you know, historically has moved quite slow. You know, trying to create business models that can, because that's the only way to make this a sustainable solution. You know, initially, you know, grants, research grants and philanthropic help is super important to get the pilots going. But really then it becomes a problem of how do you, you know, make sure that this is sustainable, profitable and scalable. And I think, you know, the questions was, you know, I touched on all of these topics. So I think that was awesome.
Great, thank you. And Carrol, how about you?
I think for me, like Asim, the toughest question is also on scaling the business, because we've got to get our tech in the hands of farmers for it to really have the impact that we want. And so that's something that I'm spending a lot of time thinking about right now. I think the team stuff is what I really enjoy working on, so that's always a pleasure for me. But, you know, having an opportunity to talk to the people we've met here at Davos has, you know, unlocked something for our business, so scaling's the tough bit.
That's awesome. Okay, so I mentioned that I learned a lot. I'm sure, who learned something this morning in the audience? Let's hear it. All right. Super, I think so. My question is, it's about entrepreneurs connecting to other entrepreneurs. So what is the most important thing that you learned from each other while doing this pitch? What did you hear in the other persons that's a nugget that you're going to take back? Carrol, would you start us off?
Sure. I really loved in Rebecca's pitch just the engagement with people and communities. So I really feel that from her, and the integrity with which she presented that I thought was great.
Okay.
I'm also fascinated by leaves, but also I have a father who's a water engineer, so drinking water, he you know, way before it was in vogue, said you can't buy a bottle of water. Out of the tap should be something that everyone can drink and that you should have confidence in. So it's fantastic to learn more about a business that's making that possible.
Hakeem?
Yeah, I think, you know, nature, trees, and agriculture, you know, my great-grandfather was a farmer. And, you know, looking at, you know, how that's been passed on and how I have no experience, you know, in that, just, you know, the couple of generations. And so just seeing how you know, the stories he used to tell and what, you know, you're doing at the other end of the spectrum, I think is incredible. And, you know, planting trees, I mean, we in India, you know, used to climb trees growing up, and these are trees that my great-grandfather had planted, and we still eat the fruit today. So I think, you know, what you're doing is going to help generations to come. So that's amazing.
All right, so it looks like the voting is pretty close, but before we hear, so we got the envelope coming. Paulie's going to announce the winner. Before we do that, maybe just quickly from the judges, any impressions, anything that you guys loved about the presentations? Maybe a quick word from each of you guys first.
I was thoroughly inspired, and I think, you know, we started off this morning with the theme of, you know, doing well, you know, and doing good. And I think what's really exciting about each of your ventures is, you know, they drive meaningful impact for really, really tangible issues that we face today and continue to face in the future. And even as you were talking, Carrol, I was thinking food security. In the UK, there are 4 million children living in poverty that cannot even access food. So, you know, and of course, there are examples across the board. So the impact, I absolutely love the commerciality of each of your ventures. So when we're thinking about the doing well for, you know, we're doing good, I think you brought that to life really, really well. So I absolutely loved it. Thank you.
I'm well, I wanted to say I'm inspired by all of you. And when you think about the theme, you know, of being here in Davos and that notion of trust, and specifically what you all are doing, you know, trust in things as simple as, you know, rebuilding and planting trees for the planet, trust building with local communities and farmers to deploy your technologies, trust building with local governments and citizens to engage in all of the useful information that comes from water systems and things of that nature. It's really phenomenal. I mean, like, you're fundamentally reestablishing some of the things that have fundamentally been broken over the last 2 decades. And so really looking forward to you continuing to grow and deploy your solutions.
And Enrique, you represent the top investors from UpLink. You're the ones that are putting money behind solutions like this. What do you think?
I mean, to be honest, it was tough. I mean, it was tough to to be a judge of such an amazing group, right? Like, all the companies are amazing, your personalities, the way you are speaking about your businesses. And I mean, more than being a judge, we're trying always to team up with you, right? Like, so that's an investor that, I'm speaking about all the other investors part of the UpLink, right? Like, we always try to team up with you. So the first thing that was coming to my mind is, how can we put these 3 businesses together, make it one, invest in the 3 of them, and and be successful. You know, like that's what I'm taking out of this. Thank you again. It's an eye opener. I think it's for any investor, it's going to be a challenge to select. You know, I mean, again, what I will do is like, okay, we have 10 francs, let's split it.
That's great. Well, first of all, thank you very much one more time. Thank you to our judges. So we also had a tough time between the advisory board and the operations of UpLink. So while I mentioned earlier that we have a winner who goes home with $50,000 as the prize, we also decided that the other 2 go home with $20,000 each as a prize. So let's hear it up for all of our partners and the rest of it. And I can't imagine anything more fun on the last day of Davos than doing this. And we'll be back again next year. So here we go. Here's the tally of all of your QR code votes and the votes that were done by the judges. Carrol Plummer, congratulations. And Vivent, awesome. Thank you very much. You guys did a great job. Super good. Thank you so much. You bet. And thank you again to our audience for coming. And I hope you spread the word on UpLink and find some way that you can contribute either personally or with an introduction in your companies. Thank you very much.
Listen, really want to share one last round of appreciation. We started our program with the innovators on Monday, and it started with a moment of reflection and appreciation. So I want to do the same for a couple people here. First off, for Paulie, Steve, Justine, Jay, everybody here that's with Salesforce that has made this possible. Paul, Kwesi, Claudine, Carrie, Jan, the Deloitte team, our founding partners, we couldn't be here without it. And of course, our team in the back, we got Sadaf and Celia and Dewi and Ron and Gianluca. Thank you guys for all this work. You could sense really why it is that we do our work, why it is that we're building UpLink. It's so that entrepreneurs like this can succeed. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for this fun banter and fun time up here on stage and really have a great last day of Davos. Okay?
But if you were in the program and the other teams, if you'd like to have a couple pictures, we want to post them up there on the UpLink site. So could we first have we'll do it like a wedding. All the people that were on stage, get back up here again and let's get a snapshot.
Quick photos and we'll send you off. Thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
Take care, everybody.